Okay, good morning, everybody, and I want to welcome us to today's class, Project Management 1. For those that are joining us for the first time, this is Project Management class. My name is Mr. Bardi Peter. I'll be your facilitator for this particular class. So in the next 40 minutes that we have, we're going to be looking at the overview of project management. Now in today's class, we'll be looking at what project is. We'll be defining what project is. We'll look at the characteristics of a project, and then we'll also look at the differences that exist between the project and an operation. Of course, we'll look at some examples of a project, and of course, the similarities that exist between a project and an operation. So those are the things that we have to discuss in today's class. If we have more time, we'll also go deeper into the topic. So overview of a project. According to Joseph Juran, he's a quality guru, defines a project as a problem that requires a solution. That's his definition. Before we go into this definition, for us to be able to understand exactly what I'm trying to say, let's take, for example, you work for an organization. Let's say, for example, you work for an organization. You guys deal on fabrics. Okay, you deal on fabrics, and over time, sales. He's looking for a way to actually solve the problem, to know why they are not making sales as far as the organization is concerned. So he decides to come up with an idea that maybe probably after a lot of audits and a lot of investigations to find out why, they discover that they are not attracting a lot of customers. People don't know much about the business. It's just lying there, but few persons know about the business. And it's customers actually that makes a business what it is. So he wants to find a way to make the business known or to attract customers to it. And then he decides to, okay, set up a kiosk, okay, beside the building. That's the fabric building. Now the kiosk, maybe a POS, in the kiosk, if you're doing POS, people can come and pay their tariffs like electricity bill. In the kiosk, you have a coffee section where people can actually walk in and get a coffee on their way to work, and maybe a few groceries like that. These are things that people actually need on a daily basis, because when somebody run out of cash, they will need to make withdrawal, and POS is the easiest way to make withdrawals now. People want to pay for the NEPA bill, people want to recharge their DSTV stores, people want to get breakfast and stuff like that. So he feels this is one thing that we can use to attract customers. So as they're coming to either withdraw money, pay their bills, buy coffee, they can use that opportunity to actually see what the organization is for. And then decides to give you this, appoint you as the leader. It's okay, this is my vision for this company. Go research about how to make this happen. That is the kiosk, and then take it from there. And then it works for you. Now, what are you going to do? The first question you're going to ask yourself is this a project? This thing is trying to tell you to set up. He has made you the supervisor for it. The first question you need to ask yourself is this a project? How do I go about it? What are the expectations? How can we use that to actually attract customers? There are a lot of things you ask. And of course, that is a project because he expects a return at the end of the day. He expects you to come back and tell him, okay, this is what we've been able to do, and so far so good. We're attracting customers based on it. So the question is, how do you go about setting up this kiosk? What and what do you need to do? So in the course of this training, you'll be able to understand how you can actually go about, this particular project or the thing that we're talking about. So quickly, let's go to the definition of a project, just like I showed you before. Said according to Joseph Juran, the quality guru, he said it defines a project as a problem scheduled for solution. So there's a problem, your boss identified the problem in the organization, they're not making a lot of sales because people are not aware that such organization exists. Now, one of the solutions is to attract customers. One of the things to attract customers is to create a mini kiosk, a mini department, a smaller unit of the organization, to start doing things that will attract people to actually come in. So you see, that makes it a project. That makes it a project because there's a problem and we're trying to bring about a solution to it. Now the question is how do we bring about solution? That is where the project characteristics and the rest of things comes in. All right. Now, according to Project Management Institute, PMI, they define project as a temporary endeavor undertaken to produce a unique product, service, or result. This is a definition according to Project Management Institute. In fact, that makes it, I think this is the generally accepted definition of a project, because there are a lot of words that I want us to pay attention to as far as that definition is concerned. Now, the first is a temporary endeavor. Endeavor is anything that you set out to do. Any activity that you decide to engage yourself in is an endeavor. Okay. Now, that activity or that endeavor must be temporary. So, meaning a project is a temporary activity. Temporary means it has a start date and it has a finish date. It's not something you do for forever. Okay, project must have a start date and a finish date. That makes it a temporary endeavor, which is undertaking to solve a problem or to bring about a solution to a problem. Undertaking to produce a unique product, service, or result. That's exactly what the definition of project is. So a unique endeavor that produces a set of deliverables within specified time, quality, and scope. I've given you another definition of a project. But what I just want us to understand as far as the definition of a project is concerned is that any activity you engage yourself temporarily that produces a result, that thing is a project. Let's say, for example, now you're studying with JPTS. We can say that your study with JPTS is a project because it's temporary. You're not going to be in JPTS forever. 3 years, 3.5 years to 4 years, and you're done. So there's a start date. There's a time that you started this program. You just resumed the semester. There's a time you're going to finish the program. That makes it a temporary endeavor. Now, this endeavor, this study you're undertaking with JPTS must produce a result. And what's the result? Your BSc certificate that you're going to get at the end of the program. So that makes it a project. Say, for example, now you're hungry, you get to the house, you're very, very hungry. The hunger is already a problem. So you need to solve the problem of hunger. What do? You walk into the kitchen, pick up indomie or whatever, and then you cook. There's a time you started cooking indomie, and once the indomie is ready, you switch off your gas, and then you satisfy your hunger. That ends it. That is a project. So I think with this little definition that I've just given you, you can have an idea or have an understanding of what project management is. So we said it's a unique endeavor, a temporary endeavor that produces a set of unique deliverable, okay, within specified time, scope, and of course, quality and cost. All right. Now, there's also something I want us to note as far as that definition is concerned. Project produces a unique result. Project must produce a unique result. Meaning one of the characteristics of a project is that the project must be what? Must be unique, must be original. It must be original. That's one thing about project. Meaning you're producing something that's never been produced before. Something that's never been produced before, that's what you're producing. That makes it a project. Okay? Somebody say, how? But I've been cooking every day now. I cook the same indomie. Yes, it may be the same indomie. You may use the same method of cooking indomie, but trust me, the outcome of that indomie cannot be the same like the one you cooked yesterday. Is that this one is drier than the one you cooked yesterday, or you decide to use sardine for today's own, but yesterday's own, you just put it like that. Something must come out of that indomie that makes it original, that makes it different from the one you cooked the previous day. So every project must produce something unique. The result or the product must be unique. That makes the project what it is. So generally now, just like I said, if I'm to redefine a project, I can say project is a unique endeavor, a temporary endeavor that produces a set of unique deliverables within specified time, cost, and quality. That is the definition of a project. I hope we all understand you're understanding what I'm saying, or understood what I just defined. Okay, so let's proceed. I said the last part of that definition, I said a project can also be defined as a set of inputs and outputs required to achieve a particular goal. Yes, because when you're producing something, there's a set of input, there's something you put in. It includes raw materials, resources, both financial resources, human resources, labor resources, material resources, and the rest of them. All those things are the things you put in order to get an output, which is the product of that particular delivery. Okay. So things to note about the project. There are certain things I want us to note about the project. Number one, project can range from simple to complex and can be managed by one person or 100. That's number one thing to note about the project. It can range from a simple to complex and can be managed by 1 to 100%. A simple project, just like I give you example now, you walk into the kitchen, prepare food. That can be a simple project. So, okay, supply an office with 50 laptops. That's a project. All you need to do is once they give you the money, you identify a seller or a dealer of laptops. You pay and you make delivery. Once you pick them up from the market or from the place you're buying it, you supply it to the organization. That's the end of the project. Very simple. It can be installation of some equipment, and then you just walk in with your guys and then you install. Once you're done, you get paid. It goes there. Those are simple projects. It can also be complex projects where they give you about let's say 1,000-kilometer road to construction of a 1,000-kilometer road. Now within that particular road path, you have both water bodies, you have swampy area, you have dry places. You know that there's a lot to do in that place. First of all, for the water body, we talk about constructing a bridge, building a bridge. Then the swampy area, you know how much of the sand and the rest of it that will sink into that particular soil to be able to get what you need. So it can be complex. It can be building an estate, building a stadium. You know, those are things. These are different. So that's what I mean by projects can range from simple to complex activities. Then it can be managed by one, just like entry of to make your doing. One person is involved. But in the construction, 100 persons are involved. There are some projects that even take over 1,000 and the rest of them. So depend on the complexity of the project, it depends on the number of resources needed to complete that. So it can range from simple to complex and be managed by one person to 100 persons. Okay, projects are often described and delegated by a manager or executive. Projects are often described and delegated by a manager or executive. That's number two. You don't just walk into a site and start undertaking a project. Okay, somebody must sign it off. Okay, and usually we have what we call the project sponsor. Okay, the project sponsor is actually the one who the owner, who is the owner of the project. He finances the project from start to finish. So he is the one that gives birth to a project, that identifies a problem that needs a solution. And then once that problem is identified, he appoints you as a project manager or the project executor to come and then, manage the project for him. Okay. Once you guys have made your arrangement or your agreement, he signs it up to you. And then the project manager with his team members goes to site and then begin the project processes. So projects are often described and delegated by a manager. So you must be inside to coordinate all the activities that makes up the project. Okay. The number three, they go over the expectations and goals, and it's up to the team to manage logistics and execute the project in a timely manner. There's something we're going to be talking about in the course of this particular topic, or this course that we're looking at, and that is the triple constraint. Every project has a triple constraint. Some versions of a project management textbook will tell you it's about 4, but if you relate it together in form of a triangle, you see that it's a triple constraint, and that's cost, time, quality. Okay, those are the three things that poses as a challenge to every project manager. So what I'm trying to say is that you must be able to manage expectations, the goals, the objective of that particular project. Because the reason why the sponsor identified you to execute that project for him is because he has this enormous trust that you're the best person to give him exactly what he wants. In quality assurance and control, there's something we define assurance, quality assurance. We say is the act of giving confidence that the specifications, okay, in a particular project or product must fulfill requirements. What does that mean? If I am the project sponsor and I decide to identify you as the project manager, I'm expecting that at the end of that particular project process, when you're done with the project and everything, the specifications of that project, what I'm seeing, must fulfill my requirements. It must fulfill the reason why I asked you to undertake that project. I shouldn't come to the project site, or I shouldn't come when the project is completed and I'm seeing something different. Okay, so that's it. So you, as a project manager, note that you must at all times fulfill expectation, meet expectations, and the goals of that particular project you need to set up for. Very, very important. And this is something I need to pass to your team members. And you passing it to your team members, simply telling them, these are the expectations of our sponsor. These are the goals and objectives of this project. Guys, you guys must work to fulfill or to achieve these goals and meet this expectation. And it starts from managing logistics, executing projects, fulfilling the laid down rules or processes of achieving the objective. You must do that in a timely manner. You must be able to manage costs. There must be verification of what you're doing. All these things put together will meet the expectation or fulfill the goals and objectives to which that project is set up with. And the responsibility of doing this lies in the hands of the manager. Okay? Sometimes deadlines can be given or a time limitation. That's the truth. Just like we said, because a project has a start date and a finish date, there's usually a deadline, okay, in achieving that particular project or product that you're trying to execute. So you don't have the whole time in the world, okay, to fulfill the project objectives. So you must work within the time frame that you're given. That's why I told you that time is one of the challenges that project managers usually face as far as project is concerned. It's among the triple constraint, which I'm going to explain to us later. What is triple constraint and how is it a problem to every project personnel. Okay, so look at that. But understand, I don't have the whole time in the world to execute a project. You must be able to work within the time frame that's been given to you. Okay, so be able to meet up with that project objective. Okay, so you must work within the time that is given to you to achieve that. For good project productivity, some teams break the project up into individual tasks so they can manage accountability and utilize team strength. No matter how complex a project is, sometimes the first time I traveled to a place and I was like, wow, this is so massive, like this is so beautiful, you know? And you can start wondering, how did they do this? Is it a magic? Is it magic? Is it something? It's not magic. No matter how complex a project is, it can be achieved. And one of the strategies to achieve such a complex project is that they are broken down into tiny, tiny pieces of work. Okay. For example, now if you want to, you don't just carry a house and erect it down, just like you just lift the house. Yeah. That foundation alone is a tiny piece of work that makes up the entire project. And then you have those that are raising the block. You have the plumbers. You have this and that. There are different activities that be. So all those smaller activities put together makes up the whole of that project. So for you to have a good project productivity, break down the project into smaller manageable tasks, because the success of this particular unit of a project will lead or launch you to another. The advantage of breaking your project into smaller tasks is that it helps you identify errors or defects that may occur during project execution. So that's why it's very, very necessary to break it down. Let's say, for example, I like to use examples that we are all familiar with. If you want to cook, it is not by magic. You don't just enter the kitchen and you on the gas and say, hallelujah, rice appear or stew appear. No, it's not by magic. There are certain things you do. And what do? You start from all the things that requires cutting, slicing, washing, steaming, grinding. Those are the first thing you do. You want to cook. So you bring out the meat or the fish, you wash, you steam. You bring out the onions, you cut. You bring the tomato and the pepper, you grind. Okay? Now those are the first activities. That's a smaller unit. What have you done now? You're breaking down that entire project into smaller team. Now, as long as you're done with everything that requires cutting, slicing, squeezing, grinding, and whatever that you have, the next thing is to set it up. The next thing is now to either to do activity that involves frying, steaming, or boiling. And then the next thing is to allow it to simmer for some minutes. You add your ingredients and your food is ready. You see, there are different activities you need to play, different activities you need to undertake for the food to be ready. So it's not by magic. That's what project is. So you must be able to break it down into smaller, manageable components. The success of every component to the to the success of another. During your project execution, and identify it early enough will also help you to put strategies in place or measures in place to correct such a defect. So those are some of the things I want us to note as far as a project is concerned. Now note the ability to deliver project on schedule, on budget, and align with business goals is key to gaining an edge in today's highly competitive global business environment. This is where project managers come in. Please note this is powerful. What I just said now is powerful. If you want to remain in the business of project management, if you want, anytime there's a project to execute and you want sponsor to call you back, you must be able to achieve this thing I just read to you now. Have you not wondered why is it that each time federal government wants to, when it comes to road construction, You don't even need to argue about it. There are some companies that they just call to execute that project. Companies like RCC, Reynolds Construction Company, companies like Julius Berger, companies like CCC or CCCE, companies like Cetraco, companies like I think there's another one, Zidane Tata or something. So that, no, there are some projects that once it comes up, you have an idea of who and who is going to execute the project management team that will be called upon to execute that. Why? Because they always have the ability to deliver the project on schedule. That is time. So if they give you, okay, 2 years, we want this project to be completed within 2 years. As long as all the resources required to complete that particular project is in place, you have to meet it. It is very, very important as a project manager that you must deliver the project on schedule. You must deliver the project within the budget. Remember, they're not just giving you any kind of budget. During the planning stage of the project, you were involved, you were invited, you were given the project charter to study it, to understand, okay, if we are budgeting 50 million naira or 50 billion naira for this project, they're involving you they are telling you, will it be enough? If it's not enough, tell them that, okay, these are some of the things, or both of you must come up to an agreement. And once that budget is agreed upon between the project sponsor and the project manager, you must deliver within that budget that is given to you. Within that budget that's given to you. Sometimes they will not even, because the project sponsor has his own team, okay, team of engineers and architects and the rest of them. They must have carried out a feasibility study of that project, and then they can draw up a budget for you. But of course, we'll see how they arrived at the various items or the various amounts and the rest of them. The truth is that as long as the budget is agreed upon, you must work within that budget. You don't go back to a project sponsor and say, sorry, you're no vex, sir. I be think say this money will reach. No, there's no excuse. You must be able to deliver within the budget. So you try as much as possible to deliver it within the project, except that there are some unforeseen circumstances, okay, beyond your control. That's when, okay, there can be an exemption or a consideration for an extra budget. And of course, for that to take place, you must activate what we call the change control. Okay, meaning you're asking for a change in the budget because of some unforeseen circumstances. Okay, those also can be an act of God. Okay, maybe natural disaster, like this COVID-19 issue that for most 3 months, all the countries or the country was on lockdown, no activity was going on, and every day passes, there's loss of time, there's loss of money. So there are some conditions that is quite understandable why you'll not be able to deliver that project within the time frame, within the budget, and of course, and not being able to delivering the goals, okay, that I set out for that particular project. If you're able to do these 4 things, these 3 things I talked about, delivering it within the schedule, within the budget, and the specification given to you, that is the goals of that particular project, trust me, will be highly regarded in the business of project management. And the world is so competitive, there are a lot of project managers. So you must do something outstanding, something different to be better than every other person. So that each time your name comes first in the lips of everybody that you're working with or that wants to work, that has a project that needs to be executed. That is the only way that you can remain competitive in the global business environment. So take note of that your ability to deliver a project on schedule, on budget, and meeting specifications or goals of that particular project is your major responsibility as a project manager. You must do everything within your power to do that. Okay. So having said that, let's look at some of the key things to notice in that definition, which I explained briefly when I was defining it. The first thing there is temporary, just like I said, meaning every project must have a beginning and an end. Every project must have a beginning and an end. Number two, the purpose of the project must be to create so personal. It's okay, please, can I get his number? And then he calls you, hello, is that Mr. This and that and that? Okay, there's a project that is there for my friend. I like it. I want the duplicate of that exactly the same way. The truth is, it may have costed you 30 million naira to build that house for Mr. A. But Mr. B, it cannot even be the same budget. That's why even in budget, a cost management, as far as project management is concerned, there's a rule that you don't use historical what do they call it now? Historical activities to prepare the budget, the project that you have at hand. That is what I mean by that is that you don't consider, as much as it's going to help you, that's maybe you've executed that particular project before in the past, it can only help you. Everything I did in the past can only help you for this new project I want to execute. But that doesn't mean that you have to not carry just the way the last project is, everything I was involved, you not inherit it, okay, to a new project. You're going to find yourself in a very big problem. So they are just there for what's the word now? There's a word that's just escaped my mind. It's just there for historical okay, they're just there to guide you, okay, to the new project that you want to execute. They are basically historical information, just to like a reference point for you. Okay, it's a reference point for you. Okay, yeah, I executed so for 30 million, but now there's, because of the changes in the market structure, okay, the cost of cement within 2 months can just move. Because all of a sudden we woke up and discovered that price of fuel dropped from 140 something to 121 naira during that pandemic period when the world was actually hit. Fuel dropped to 121 naira. As a project manager, of course, that period, certain things that happened, and therefore 121 again came back to 140, 145. Now it's 161. Now, as the difference is now the tax system now, the VAT that is being charged now has increased. Tax has increased, and as governments are bringing up policies that affect the economy, it's also going to affect businesses, and business will also want to impact the changes, wants to add the changes to whatever they are doing. So you can go to market, it's a bag of cement that sells for 1,005. You can go to market the following day and discover that it's 2,000 naira. So their best historical information that your friend said, okay, please, doesn't mean you have to inherit that budget. You have to take your time and plan this own project. So maybe at the end of the day, you discover that the new project is going to cost 5 million as against 30 million that you use. That's a uniqueness already. You have created a unique something as far as that is concerned. The location of the new project, even if you're using the same architectural design that you use for Mr. A, for Mr. B, the change in location has created uniqueness in that project. Because this other one may be in, let's say, for example, now in Ikorodu, that's where you built it. But this person now wants you to build it in Lekki. You've already created the uniqueness. At the end of the day, maybe the size of the land where you used can be bigger than the previous one. That's the uniqueness. This person can prefer white color, white paint, but this particular maybe say, okay, no, I don't want white. Just give me something different, another color. There must be something. There must be something that will make it unique. That's why every project must create a unique product or result. Okay, the stew you cooked yesterday may be saltier than the one you cooked today. The pepper may be more than the one you cooked today. Some of the things you used to cook this other one may not be. Maybe yesterday you used fish, today you decide to use meat. Maybe yesterday you used chicken, today you decide to use turkey. There must be something that will make it original. So every project, in fact, the purpose of every project is to create that uniqueness. Don't do things the same way. you're not God, the same yesterday, today, and forever. No, create something that makes it unique, that makes it different from what you've done before. But do not stray away from the specification given to you. Do not stray away from the goals and objectives set to you, so given to you. When you do that, that's what we call goal plating, and it's a professional responsibility as far as project management is concerned. But try as much as possible that every project you're undertaking, you should be able to create this uniqueness. There must be something that makes it outstanding, that makes it different from, so you won't be known as a stereotype kind of person. You do the same thing every day. So try as much as possible to create uniqueness in all your results on the product that you're achieving. That is the purpose of a project. So project must be temporary, project must be unique. Okay, so having said that, let's see what we have. The little time that we have, I think I have less than 2 minutes to be done with this class. Regardless of every project, I think this is what we're going to stop for today. When we come next week, we continue. I had to take my time because this is like an introductory class so that you have a good background of what we're going to. So by next week, we're going to be flying. Regardless of every project, every project must have the following components. Yes, every project must have the following component. Number one, goals. I've already explained that. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to achieve? And remember, the goals of the project you're executing must align with the goals of the sponsor, the person who gave you the project to execute. So what are you trying to achieve? There must be a goal. Number two, there must be a timeline. When are you trying to achieve it by? That is, what's the timeline? What's the duration of the project? Okay, is it a 2 months project, a 1 week project, a 1 year project? There must be a timeline. Number three, there must be a budget. How much will it cost you to achieve it? There must be a budget. 10 million naira, 1,000 naira, 100 million, 10 billion, depending on the complexity of the project. That's that. Stakeholders, who are the major players who have interest in the project? Stakeholders are anybody that has 1 or 2 interests in the project, and their presence in the project can affect the project either positively or negatively. Examples of a stakeholder: you have the project sponsor, you have the project team members, you have the project manager, you have the project customer, you have the regulatory agencies, you have the consultancy, the consulting firms, okay, you have the community boys, you have anyone at all that has 1 or 2 roles to play in that project is a stakeholders. And projects are usually affected or influenced by these stakeholders. Why? How are they influenced? Because of the interest that these different people have in the project. We're going to explain that in details as we proceed, as we go ahead in this particular training, to understand the influence, the functions of the stakeholder in a project, and what influence they have, what kind of influence do they have as far as the project is concerned. So note that one of the components of the project is that stakeholders must be there. Then the project manager, project manager is one who makes sure that everything that is needed to be achieved or completed gets completed. Then, like I said, your role as a project manager, you're not the one mixing the cement. You're not the one going to market. You have your team members who you've assigned different responsibilities. Okay, but yours is you're playing the supervisory role because you're the one that understands the project better than every other person, every other team members. So yours is to lead. Your role is to organize. Your role is to direct. Your role is to train. Your role is to motivate. Your role is to communicate between the team members and the project sponsors and the rest of them. So these are all the roles you play as far as the project is concerned. So everything passes through your table. You're the one that gives directives on what to do, how to do it, when to do it, when not to do it, and the rest of them. Project manager plays a very, very good. Okay, I think my time is up. We'll stop today's class here. When we come next week, now that we've built a foundation and now that we understand what a project is, from next week we'll be able to now define what project management is. All right, so we'll stop here for today, and I'll see us next week. I hope we all enjoyed today's class, and hopefully by next week I'll be dropping 1 or 2 assignments, and the assignment will be a practical assignment, just to get your knowledge or your idea of what project is. So based on what you're going to do, what we treated today, what we're going to treat next week, will form the assignment I'm going to give, so that we can all have a better understanding. So I want us to think about it and then come up with a solution. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope you guys enjoyed yourself because I did. I really did enjoy myself. And I'll see you next week. Have a beautiful day. God bless you.